Right, okay, Analogical here. Well, today is the 11th of July. I've just seen that Kitson and Steele have decided to upload a video. It's basically once again trying to pull me to pieces. This one's with Ingrid, the founder member of Bemri. So, being as they don't allow anybody like myself to reply in comments under that video, they're shadow banning any comments that I make. I will show that to prove what I'm saying, which makes me wonder why they need to do that. If they're so righteous and true, why do they not allow myself to answer their allegations? So I've got no choice but to make another video. So here it is.
And what does Bemri stand for?
Bioelectromagnetic Research Initiative. So
okay.
we are looking for biocompatible communication systems.
Okay. And there's been, some chatter on the internet about apparently someone from Bemri went up to Gateshead and did a 5G survey. Do Bemri do surveys for 5G?
We don't do surveys and we don't authenticate surveys. It was a member, he's no longer a member, it was a member of Bemri who actually does these surveys privately for people who are electrosensitive.
Last year I contacted Bemri, which is the Bioelectromagnetic Research Initiative, because I knew that they were experts and I wanted to find out about 5G in Gateshead apparently being emitted from the lampposts, according to Mr. Bemri-Steele. Now, what transpired was communications between myself and a member of the organisation, who then went to Gateshead and tested the lampposts, which were negative for 5G. Now it transpires that Bemri have taken it upon themselves to issue a public statement saying that it was nothing to do with them. I share with you the emails so that you can see what transpired and make your own mind up if you think this organisation were involved or not. So I sent this email on the 29th of April to David Webb, who is was a member of Bemri, asking him what he thought about the claims being made about the antennas on the street lamp. His reply was that he'd been in contact with Steele and that he told Steele that Steele wasn't using the proper equipment, that himself and another member of the group offered to go freely. They were surprised that he didn't take them up on this offer. They also said that it could help Steele with his very worthy campaign. And it states, and I quote, "As a scientific group, Bemri.org, we welcome people such as you sharing information that is mutually beneficial." Now, does that seem clear that this member is talking to me and corresponding with me as a member of Bemri? So I arranged for two people to have surveys. One was a lady named Elizabeth who resides in the Gateshead area. As you can see in this email, he clearly states, "Please mention Bemri and people can find out about us but avoid using my name online." Well, I'm very sorry, but I've got no choice, have I? Because I've got Bemri telling me not to mention in public that they were involved. Now I've got the member of the organisation telling me that I should only mention them and not mention his name personally. He also mentions that he fails to see Mark and his twin brother Graham's motives after they made it clear that they didn't want him to survey and that Mark gave him nothing but abuse on the phone. After this testing was done, he rang me up on the phone and read out a report that he told me that he was going to be giving to Bemri, as he did with all of his surveys. The very next day I sent him this email: "Are you still going to give me the full report that you read out to me on the phone, which you said you would also give to me?" Okay. And as you can see, on the very same day, he sent me this email: "Best keep the message simple so that people can follow it." And then he wrote me out the report. Now, I was asking more questions, so then he sent me this email back. It's a statement that he claims it's a statement from Alistair Phillips. I don't know whether it is really from Alistair Phillips. I couldn't guarantee that, but this is what David claimed that he'd sent. Alistair Phillips, by the way, is one of the hundreds of scientists who signed the moratorium against 5G. And it states, quote, Mark is right to be concerned, but then he states that he's convinced that Mark is winding people up with good intentions but incorrect information. Well, I've shown since that it's not good intentions at all. He is controlled opposition. So I then sent this. Does this sum up the whole episode, which I stated that after contacting Bemri with regards to the question of the lamppost in Gateshead emitting the signals, and it states, and I quote, as a scientific group, Bemri.org, we welcome people such as you sharing information that is mutually beneficial. Now, does that seem clear that this member is talking to me and corresponding with me as a member of Bemri? Now, what I've written is saying that I contacted Bemri, and he, as a member of Bemri, has contacted me and said, yes, what you've written is fine. So how can that possibly mean that Bemri were not involved? 5 months later, in October, I wrote him another email and I asked him for a copy of the report because I wanted to put it on my website, because people were stating that the official report hadn't been done, so they wanted to see it. So I asked him, can I have this report, please? I've been telling people what you've told me, so I need the proof of that. I spoke to him on the phone after that and he assured me that he would give me the report. And then I got this. This was sent the next day. As you can see, it's sent to myself and Liz, who was the lady who was at Gateshead when the testing was done. That after discussing this with the rest of the group, they decided that it wasn't in their best interests to go ahead and give us any more information, and they've said for some reason about Mark Steele. So at this point I was really annoyed now. So in my next email I basically just said, that's it, I'm just going to make all the emails public. Either I can do that with Bemri's help, or I'll do it, like I've said, I'll just make all the information available via the emails. Like I said, you can either send me a report, the one you've already passed on to them, or one that you've updated, as long as they state the facts that I know are already, they've already showed me the facts. So then he's now saying if I publish anything that goes against what he's requested, it'll go badly for me. Mark will have a field day, blah, blah, blah. Well, he's had a field day now, hasn't he? Because Bemri's all given him a public statement that it's nothing to do with them. So then we just didn't communicate anymore, and he sent the report to Liz, who then forwarded it on to me. So, as you can see in the report, in May 2018, Bemri visited Gateshead. It doesn't say David Webb, it says Bemri.
He heard about 5G in Gateshead and he decided to go up there. Nothing to do with Bemri, because he does that on his own back, because he's got lots of measuring equipment, and usually he goes into houses of people who are electrosensitive and gives them advice on how to shield themselves.
Now let's just look at this logically, okay? If it's true that David Webb was acting on his own behalf, right, why would he be telling me 6 months after the tests were done that after discussing it with the rest of the group, it was not in the interests of Bemri to make public comments regarding Mark Steele? If it was a private survey, it would not have been necessary to listen to the group, and also the group wouldn't have even been aware of Mark Steele, would they? Now, in email correspondence with Ingrid, she said, this is part of what she said in her email, she stated that David Webb assured her only recently that he never told me he was authorised by Bemri, even though the emails that I sent state otherwise. Okay. She also stated that in this email that they don't police their members and that she doesn't know Mark Steele. Well, explain this email then. So I contacted David again with an email. I'll share it with you what I said. I said, we are not asking you to make public statements about Mark Steele. We are asking you to verify the findings of the tests. I think it became clear to myself and other people at this point that these people did not want to have any dealings with Steele. This is an email sent from David, which was also sent to Ingrid, March 2019, where he talks and states, I believe it's best to ignore him. We have nothing to retract, unlike him, who claims Bemri is part of the World Health Organization and is also connected to Cancer UK, and these are just a part of a number of false statements he's personally made. After viewing our website and my leaflet, you can see where we stand on 5G and EMF pollution. One thing for sure, he's no expert, and the video with him with his meter proves that. Now, bearing in mind, David is talking to the founder of Bemri, okay? He's mentioning how much, but basically there's so many interviews out there where Mark Steele has been completely and utterly slandering the organisation of Bemri. And yet, here we are with him sitting with the founder in what seems to be a very awkward looking interview. He then goes on to state that this email arrived after a loud, abusive and quite ridiculous phone call from Mark Steele accusing David Webb and Alistair Phillips of being responsible for the harm caused by 5G. And then he goes on to say that the information with the attachments that they sent to Mark last May contained the details of the LED lights that he claimed were 5G. He then goes on to explain once again how Steele's meter couldn't pick up these signals. And this is the email that David was actually talking about, where he said it happened just after the abusive phone call, where Steele is demanding that David Webb retracts his test results. This email was sent from Alistair Phillips, and it was back in March 2018, and they're discussing all the details about the lampposts. Now, Alistair Phillips is a well-known scientist. He's the one who signed the moratorium along with hundreds of others against. I've already shown with my YouTube videos under Logical Annie and also my website Annie Logical Uncensored, I've explained the LED lights and how they are the first phase of an incremental stage leading to them becoming 5G lampposts. Now, Steele's claims are getting more and more outlandish as he continues.
The equipment's not just an EMP, it's a target acquiring weapon system. So they've got a bit of an issue with it, because obviously I know what it is, and I try to cover it up. Now, I'm pretty sure that the Orthodox Jew population in Gateshead, they are potentially the main targets. And the reason for this test in the Gateshead area.
Well, I'd like to know why this article's appeared with the council in his area claiming that they are in a good place to promote 5G, but unfortunately the funding for the test beds and trials went to the West Midlands. I mean, I've documented on my website all the areas around the UK who are testing 5G. They openly brag about it, along with the telecommunications companies involved. We've seen it all over the papers, all the areas where they're testing 5G. But Steele will never talk about that. He only ever talks about what's happening in Gateshead. In his interview, he claimed that the article which I have on my website, which exposes his link to the agencies pushing 5G, is being used by the industry to discredit the claims about Gateshead's lamppost being 5G. Now, my website has catalogued all the areas that are 5G, the agencies involved, those who are funding the rollout, the dangers of 5G. It's got downloadable leaflets and letters. Now, in his interviews, he claims that it's the banks who are funding it, and it's utter rubbish. Government agencies such as the Department of Digital, Culture, Media and Sport are funding it. Innovate UK are funding it. Horizon 2020 are funding it. Even the Canadian Pension Fund is funding the infrastructure. These are agencies that are on his LinkedIn profile. No. He also stated in one interview that the CIA would be the first to be targeted. Now, I've documented on my website all the companies creating 5G software and hardware that are actually owned by the CIA. He's constantly putting out disinformation. He also claimed in the video that I'm a government agent. Now, I've shared a video on Facebook, and I've done it for the particular reason because I wanted to show people what I have actually been doing for the past over 10 years. And the video clearly shows that I've been involved in charity awareness and research for a long time. I'll leave the link to that video in the description in this video. Steele, whose company was a collaborator with the council on the Smart Specialisation report, which was set up to get funding for 2014 to 2020. See, this is what he doesn't want people to see on my website, because Gateshead Council are involved with this Horizon 2020 and they talk about this Sunrise project. Now, Steele also has on his LinkedIn profile links to the Civitas urban mobility project. So let's just have a look, shall we, at an extract from the Sunrise project. Strong collaboration between the council, local and cross-border partners, the Sunrise team, as well as active engagement of the stakeholders will be essential for this project. Local resources, knowledge and skill will form the backbone of the implementation to help ensure ownership of the output and community pride. We will be trialling the concept of living labs in the context of physical interventions. The Living Lab is a co-creation approach integrating research and implementation processes. These are integrated through the co-creation, exploration, experimentation and evaluation of ideas and the active sharing of lessons learned. In our specific pilot, we will develop a campaign around the implementation of the co-created solutions that helps with their simultaneous application, dissemination and showcase. We will organise street trial events which will involve the use of street kit, temporary street furniture, temporary plate, whatever, paint. This will enable local stakeholders to test the solutions co-developed through participation in the Sunrise co-creation forum and provide feedback and modification that can shape the proposed design solutions implemented by the end of the project. Now, is that not exactly what is going on here? Right, so I'm going to show you two pictures of lampposts, okay? Can you figure out which one is actually 5G? He's openly advertising Horizon 2020 on his LinkedIn profile. Now, this article can show us what Horizon 2020 is all about. Horizon 2020 is for funding researchers and research projects. These lampposts are everywhere. Everywhere. All around the UK. These LED lampposts. Okay. This, on the other hand, is an LED lamppost that is 5G. Right, if you look on my website, there's a 48-page PDF and it's street lighting the progression from LED to the smart agenda. Okay. Now, if you read that, you will read infrastructure barriers. Lastly, with the integration of multiple applications into smart lighting infrastructure, there's a real risk that the systems will become overwhelmingly complex and too difficult to implement. To mitigate the risk, it is recommended that cities deploy additional solutions in an incremental fashion, ensuring value is being delivered before adding another solution. Despite these barriers, there is a huge potential for smart lighting infrastructure as a service to have multifunctional smart city platform capable of monitoring everything from crime to parking to whether streetlights are ubiquitous in urban areas. Now, it's not rocket science, is it? Hey? If it starts off with LED and then it has to work, they have to deploy additional solutions in an incremental fashion, then there has to be other things added to the light. Come on, people. I mean, come on. I just don't understand why people can't seem to get this simple concept into their heads. So I'm just trying to put this out there. You know, it's obvious. This man who's got this very revealing past, which includes actually shooting someone while he was a pub doorman, right, who claims to be a scientist, a secret nuclear scientist, a weapons expert, with no qualifications. Where's the proof that he's any of this stuff? His only qualifications are an open university course in psychology, and he took social science at Gateshead College. So, where's your qualifications to make you a scientist, Steele? Where's the evidence? Okay, this is a man with links to all this. He's got his smart technology for sale on the Israeli Homeland Security website, as well as UK defence supplies, yeah, calling me an agent. Well, my past has got an exemplary record, actually. I've been involved in charity work, raised funds for children's charities. I've done loads of stuff with loads of different things. I've been known to put events on, raise funds, all sorts of stuff that I've done. Yeah, I've put a video out there and shown all the people that I've done, which includes, you know, being a researcher and an activist on many issues that bothered me, like vaccines or chemtrails or welfare reform. So, while you were gloating about having your smart technology on the Israeli Homeland Security website, I was sitting outside the town hall informing people about what their rights were. And as for Kipton and the rest of the travelling shilbers, you need to draw your neck in, mate.